Hello everyone, welcome to join our session today. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait for more people to join us. Can you hear me okay? I think so. Okay. Let's give it a few minutes. We're gonna start very soon. All right, let's start. First of all, how are you doing, guys? I hope you're doing okay. All right. Thank you for joining today's session. Thank you for taking the time off your busy schedule to join our webinar today. Hopefully, we can give you some new ideas of thinking, new ways of doing things, and we can leave you some food for thought for tonight. All right. Let me start by introducing myself and my team to you. My name is Sandy. My colleagues call me Sandy, which in Chinese means third brother. Feel free to call me that if you want. I'm going to do a brief introduction of Maven Point to you so you know who you're talking to and who we are. After me, my colleague Leon, the sales director, will give you a brief overview, a high-level overview of Examena, our exam management system. And in the end, Ethan, our chief strategy officer, will do a live demonstration of the tool with me. So we'll play some roles. We'll show you how the tool works for students and teachers and proctors. All right. So for those of you who were in contact with us before, you might notice that previously we were called F-Point EduTech. That's because F-Point is our parent company. F-Point is actually a quite famous company in the industry. It's one of the largest software company for SharePoint and Microsoft 365, focusing on the data protection, migration, governance, and compliance, those kind of things. F-Point is listed on NASDAQ and is very proud to have its 80% of its 2,000 employees working in R&D and delivery team. So which gives us two advantages. One is we're very financially stable, and two is we're very, very strong in our technology, in our capability. All right, and the name Maven Point, I wanted to briefly talk about that. Maven is actually not a word, but the word without I actually means pro and expert, because we want to be the leading role in the education technology ecosystem. And the AI is because we want to indicate that we have added AI technology into the development and design of our platforms. And the point is actually we inherited this from our parent company. We actually wanted to express that we have integrated a lot of different ways of thinking, different technologies into one central joint. So Maven Point. And we have actually won quite a bit of award in the industry, and we have some customer references and customer stories. If you're interested, just give me a shout. I can share them with you. And just like a lot of you today, I was also a teacher teaching English in an international school before I joined Maven Point. Don't get me wrong, I like teaching, I love teaching, but I just feel like as a teacher back then, I was faced with a lot of challenges and difficulty that prevented me from giving everything, all my energy to my students and to the classroom. I remember the biggest challenge that time was I had to spend a lot of time, a lot of my effort in the administrative tasks on top of my teaching responsibility. Sometimes I had to spend more than 50% of my time doing those admin processes. So with that in mind, if you are not a teacher already, I would like you to imagine you were a teacher and you're in a school, and this is exam peak week, and your dean, your professor, your principal just told you like, okay, you're gonna be in charge of the exam delivery, and you're gonna make sure that delivery of the examinations runs as smoothly as it can. All right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna craft the examinations, the papers, right? And you have to go through all the different layers of approval process to get it approved. And after that, you need to arrange the seating plan, which students sit in which subject, when and where, and which teachers to proctor them. And after the exam is taken, you have to make sure who to mark and how to mark. And how do you make sure there's a consistency among the different markers? How do you make sure there's no like human error? So all these different admin processes falls on you as a teacher on top of your teaching responsibility. This is a lot of work for just a teacher. And imagine if a school runs like monthly tests, this is a crazy amount of work on top of teachers. All right. And then talking about online examinations, touch wood we won't, but if we were to go back to COVID lockdown period again, can I ask how many of you can proudly say that you can go back to online examination like that with ease and whilst maintaining integrity and security? I can guarantee that not all of you can probably say that, right? I remember doing some online proctoring myself. It was quite messy. The internet connection, internet problem, the bandwidth, all the different excuses from the students, they're actually quite creative that way. And just sometimes just letting the student looking at the camera, like putting the camera facing the right direction took some time. And then the very sneaky cheating in front of my face as if I can't see it, even if I'm like twice their age, I know exactly what they're doing. So there's a lot of things. And how do you maintain that how do you maintain the security? How do you make sure that students don't cheat is a common challenge faced by many teachers in the world. And then I also know that some schools, they either have zero technology or they have too many of them, that in the end, it will create trouble and burden for the students, teachers, admin people, and sometimes parents, because all the platforms don't work with each other. They don't speak to each other. They don't integrate with each other. So a teacher has to sometimes create the same amount of work multiple times, or they ended up only using like 10 or 20% of each piece of the software, but the school has to pay for that. So piecemealing also sometimes also brings like problem with change management and with adoption. So imagine if a teacher wants to use some software to help with his teaching, and if he can't find one, so he's gonna either do it manually, which is bad for the productivity, or he's gonna use some other platform which adds to the puzzle, right? So how do we make a change? I remember struggling when I was thinking of whether I should quit teaching or not. Because I have a gene of teaching in my blood. Like my father is a professor, my husband is a teacher. I loved teaching. I still love teaching now. But I just feel like there's got to be better ways of handling all this administrative work. So that's why I changed my job. I joined Mainland Point, an educational technology company. I know that a lot of people quit their teaching job, similarly to me, during the COVID time. I know that there's a huge demand of teachers, globally speaking. So a huge shout out to everyone who's a teacher now. Thank you for your hard work. You've done an amazing job. Thank you for staying and fought. All right. And I think the right technology empowers educators. The right technology empowers them and enables them to that frees them from the tedious job, the admin jobs, and it enables them to have more time to spend it with the kids, to use it to impart the knowledge, to educate them, to actually make a difference. I think the moment when a teacher loves to teach is a moment when a student loves to learn. So together, let us make education limitless. So with that, I'm gonna pass it to Leon. He's gonna show you how it can help you make a change. Over to you, Leon.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. Well, I hope you guys were as inspired by Sandy as I was. I think that's one of the key value that we bring at Maven Point. We're not just tech experts ourselves. We have a lot of our folks who are from the industry itself. So like Sandy, she's been a teacher, and she comes from a family of educators. So we're not just good at technology. We also want to be very good in the domain in the we want to be domain experts and we want to have the experience built into our product so that it really helps people from the industry itself. Okay. Yeah, so before I go into Examiner, I just want to share also our thought process behind the design of our products, okay, in terms of our approach and key focuses. Okay, so there are 4 boxes you see on screen right now. I'm going to touch on the first, the 2 on the left first. Okay, first one would be automation and intelligence. Okay, now automation basically with the help of systems, IT systems, of course, we will be able to do things much faster. Okay, but still with some sort of human intervention, of course, with a click of a button. I have, in terms of Examiner, I have a question bank that I can drag and drop. These are things that are preloaded in, so it makes my life a bit easier. Okay, but automation is not good enough for us. Okay, we want to look at intelligence, meaning to say, things move even without human intervention. So, for example, in our live proctoring, live invigilation demo later on, you'll be able to see, even without me physically monitoring the students and the learners, system will actually capture, the system actually capture different behaviors and flag out to me. So this is where we talk about intelligence as well. Okay, that's just one component of the AI tool in our solution. Okay, now on the right side will be consolidation and experiences. So on the consolidation portion, basically we want to consolidate all different platforms that you have. That's why Examiner is very integratable. It's like a nice piece of puzzle that fits in the different systems that you have in your current applications, in your current infrastructure. Okay, we want to consolidate everything into one fully integrated software. Okay, and for the last one on experiences, now more and more folks out there, they are they're so tech savvy. They talk about how intuitive a system is, how easy to use things are, and how I just want a very nice learning experience. I want a very good user experience with the school or with the training center or with the university. Okay, so when we design something, we not only cater for the end user, which is the learners, the students. No, we also take charge of our internal staff. Okay, we want the onboarding to be really seamless, really easy. It's so idiot proof. The system is really like learning the system is just like snap of the finger, and you get onboarded so easily. Keeping change management really at a minimum. Okay, so experience we look at not just from the student, we also look at internal users. Okay, so that's really our focus and our approach when we design Examiner from a product standpoint. Okay, now of course, without further ado, what is Examiner? I think Sandy has shared extensively earlier on. Examiner is basically our digital assessment platform with the online proctoring functionality as well. Okay, now I just want to make a quick note because I've been asked this a lot. Depending on which part of the world you're from, proctoring is basically used interchangeably with invigilation as well. Okay, so live proctoring / live invigilation, or if you're a proctor or invigilator, they basically mean the same thing. Okay, now looking at the screen, there are some high-level features of Examiner, but I just want to go down to the bottom half of the screen first. I think we're talking a lot about business use case so far. If there are tech folks with us today, I also want to touch a bit on the tech side of things. Of course, Examiner is also on the cloud. Onboarding, turning it on, it's going to be a breeze. Okay, and like I mentioned just now, if you guys are visualizing, hey, where am I going to park Examiner in my current setup, in my current applications? Fear not. Examiner is already really integratable with a lot of the LMS out there. Okay, we also have our own Maven Point LMS. If you're interested to find out more, just hit us up. We're happy to share more. Okay, but more importantly, Examiner is LTI and QTI certified. Okay, that makes integration works really very easy. Okay, the standards are all done and tested. Okay, and then on the last point, which is one of our value add as well, is that there's seamless integration. There's the single sign-on through Office 365, and then finally we also have some of the AI capabilities, AI services for proctoring and invigilation process, which my colleagues will touch on during the live demo. Okay, so this is really the tech side of things. The functional aspect of things. Okay, now so this is really a typical use case. Starting from the operations all the way to the end part administration. Okay, we have the first guy on the left, basically doing the ops in a typical setup. This is where I schedule my exams. I want to know when, what time, what date the exams are running. Okay. Now you might be thinking, hey, this could be overlap, sorry, with one of our current LMS platforms. Okay, no issue. That's why we talk. That's where I talked about the integration with the LMS or whichever other training system you have in place. These information can be shared seamlessly. Okay, but the use case I'm sharing is assuming you are using Examiner as a standalone. Okay, now, so first one, like I mentioned, we talk about administrative, we talk about scheduling, and then the second one, the second guy there talking about administration. Now, this is where we do a little bit of the paper planning, we do a little of the question authoring. We have different question types that could be used to form, part of the question bank. And it's really very easy once you have a full list of question bank there to churn out papers. It's really just a drag and drop and a click of a button. Okay. Now, the guy in the middle will be the management process. If you have certain management approvals, that's fine. We also have different configurable management approval processes in place. Okay, and then the fourth column would be the candidate. Okay, attempting the exam or taking the test, even if it's not an exam, I could just be attending a quiz. Okay, and then the very last one, of course, would be the administration. Again, there's a whole marking process, there's results grading, there's publishing of grades and all that. Okay, so that's really a whole use case here. So there are two portions, like I mentioned. A lot of people they ask me, hey, Leon, I'm not really doing. I don't really need the live proctoring or the live invigilation. Can I just use it as a assessment tool? Yeah, of course, by all means. It's not a they're not linked. You don't have to use one and the other. You can use either or. Not an issue. That's again the beauty of Examiner. Like I mentioned, it's not just a digital assessment platform. It's also an online proctoring tool. Okay. I think Sandy and I have talked enough. Let's dive into some of the use cases we prepared with the live system demo today. I'm going to be passing on my time to both my colleague Sandy again and then Ethan. They'll be running through three very main use cases today. The first one would be how we can actually prepare and craft some of the quizzes, some of the questions and all that. Second one would be from a learner perspective, a student perspective, when I'm attempting the live assessment or the live examination. Okay, we'll also show you some of the, how some students can misbehave on purpose, obviously. So you can see how we can actually how Examiner can pick up some of this abnormal behavior. And then last and finally would be the live invigilation and the live proctoring process, basically from a proctor invigilator point of view. Okay, and then my colleagues will actually showcase, how some of these AI features can again take away some of the manual tracking, manual viewing, manual monitoring by the proctor. Okay, so I'm going to pass on my time to my colleagues. Again, feel free to ask us any questions if you have during the demo. Type it in the chat box. We'll pick it up and we'll be more than happy to address these questions. Okay. Over to you guys. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Leon, for your introduction. Ethan and I will take it from here. We'll do a role play of how to use Examena in action. We'll show you 3 scenarios of how to use Examena. 1 is before exam, and 2 is during exam, and 3 is after exam. I'll turn off my camera for now if it's okay to make things a bit easier. I'll continue my persona as a teacher, setting up examinations and proctoring it. And Ethan will be like a student who'll take the exam, and I'll show you how that's done. The system is actually quite simple and straightforward. So this is the front page of our Examena exam management system. And then you can see everything here is very quite clearly laid out. And on the right bottom corner, you can see an overview of your exam schedules. You can see which month, which day you have examinations and which day you have not. You can create exams following this grid button here or click here. And this will take you to our exam page where you can see you can have an overview of your different examinations, any past exams, future exams, and you can see different exam stages, whether it's enrolled or not, whether it's already taken and already being marked, etc. And then you can also search by different criteria here. So it's quite straightforward and very easy for administration people and for teachers to pull out some stuff. For today's demonstration purpose, I'm gonna quickly go into one that I have previously configured. Well, as a crazy cat lady, I'm gonna test my students their knowledge about cats. So there are a lot of different exam settings that you can configure. You can select which, you can put a name and select which course you want to put this examination into. If you have any pre-configured courses, you can simply click on the ones you want. This will ensure that all the examination within the course will have access to the examination. For example, you don't want the German course to have access to any questions of like sales course, for example. And you can also choose whether you want it to be a closed book or open book, depending on the level of security you want. If you want AI proctoring, make sure you choose closed booked. On the top on the top of the screen, you can also see whether you want to set it into a flexible range examination or a fixed range. If you choose fixed range, the examination will start from set time, say from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then if you choose a flexible time range, the student can access the examination from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. for an hour. And you can also set a reading time for the students. You can leave notes for the candidates. There are also some security features that you can have access to. If you enable the facial verification, when the student logs into the examinations, he has to do a facial recognition to sort of match the pre-uploaded ID photo of himself. So this will ensure that he can't cheat. He can't ask his friends or his family or his parents to take the examination for him. You can enable this or not. And this is the list of naughty behaviors during the examination. So when student does some naughty things, it will send notification to the proctors and to the students at the same time, and then it will be marked as red, so it will be easier to see it at a later stage. It's very easy, I'll show you later. And then you can also choose to have a lockdown environment for the students. You can choose certain application that is allowed to use during examinations, or you can turn them all off. You can, for example, if you want the student to have access to calculators, you can choose the second one. And you can add certain URLs as well. Moving to the next page is when we enroll different students. Let me just. You can choose to enroll them as individual or as a group. So you can have like 50 students in a class, but 25 takes them at one room and the other 25 takes it at another room. So next page is where we assign different proctors. As you can see, all the proctors are assigned to Hedy, but if you want to change it, you can very easily do that. You can click the attendee and then click assign proctors. You can assign different proctors to the student. You just need to type in the staff's name and search for him or her. If there's a conflict of schedule, the system will mark it out, so it's easier for you to see. Next, let's create our exam paper. So you can either do it directly or pull this exam paper from the exam bank. For the demonstration purpose today, let's just create it directly. And this will lead you to the question interface. When crafting the exam paper, you can either add new questions or use an existing questions. And you can also choose whether you want to randomize the MCQ questions. On the left is all the question types that we support. For the purpose today, let's add a new question. Let's do filling in the blank. You just need to drag and drop the question here and type in a question name, and then it's filling in the blank. So let me add blanks, add blank number 2. And here you just need to type in the correct answer and the system will automatically mark it for you. And type in the full marks here. And now let's come down. You can also add existing questions. This pulls out all the existing questions of the same course. As you can see, you can choose different questions based on their types, full marks, or difficulty level. For today, I'm going to choose all the questions under the same course. And this is the essay question. This essay question is actually the only question in the entire system that requires manual marking. Every other question typed in the system supports automatic marking. You can also type in the model answer here so that when the marker marks it in the end after the examination, they can see this instruction or what's the model answer. You can also reorder the questions. Let's make the essay the last one. All the non-essay questions, you can just tell the system which is a correct answer, and the system will automatically mark the examination when it's done, when it's taken. Only the essay question need auto marking. Every other question type that we support can do auto marking. And this is the one of the interesting questions that I want to show you today. It's actually a very interactive question. It's called hotspot. So you're able to upload an image from your computer and manually select the areas that you want to be marked as correct. So later when the students, when they take the examination, when they click the selected area, they'll be marked as correct. And this is where you change the marks of each question. And that's it. It's quite easy, right? You can also see the question from marker's view or from the student's view before you publish it. Let's publish it for now, and we'll see how Ethan takes the examination. Ethan, it's your turn now.
What we're going to do next, guys, is to show you the experience that you guys could have during the examination taking. So we're going to divide that into two parts. One is the student experience, where I will go first, and then Sandy will be showing you the practice view at the back end. How practice could monitor all the students' behaviors and to see whether there's any cheating activities or suspicious activities going on during the examination. So let's get started. Now what you're seeing on this particular screen is what we call the Examena app, whereby imagine now I'm a student trying to get into examination. So what I'll do is once I get the application installed, you can, basically notice you'll be seeing your photo, your profile on the top right corner, and right beside your photo, there will be a connection icon indicating your network connection as well. So now I'm well connected to the system, and I can see that there's an upcoming examination on my dashboard straight away. So what I can do is to just simply click on the enter the examination button over there. So there will be a couple of stuff that will come up on your screen. So first of all, it says your exam will start at what time on top of the screen, and if all those instructors or the schools that you are studying has any instructions they want to share with you, any stuff they want you to acknowledge before you get inside the examination, you can certainly do that. And one more thing to point out, if you notice there's a chat button over here, whereby it allows you to see all those news going on, or all those broadcasts being done by those educators or proctors in this case. And in any case, if you have any questions before the exam gets started, what you can do is also to just easily navigate here and then send a chat to your proctors before the exam even starts, right? So I'll be saying, hey, I do not know how to get started. So you can easily just do this, asking for help from proctors, asking whatever questions that you have before you started this examination, right? So what I'll do next is just to show you guys one additional step that you can easily do before you enter the examination and subsequently start the examination over there. So what I'll do is I'll simply just acknowledge the term here, saying do not cheat. All right, I'll just say acknowledge. So after you acknowledge all the terms and conditions for the exam that you're getting into, what else you need to do before you start the examination is also to identify yourself before you get into the examination. So what the system does is it uses your live photo and compare that with your profile photo to make sure that the person who is getting into the examination is the right person to do that. So what I'm showing you right now is to use the built-in facial verification over here in Examena to identify myself before I start the exam. So what I do is that I'll click facial verification over here. And what the system does is if you have multiple cameras set up on the screen, it's going to allow you to sort of select which camera you want to use over here. And in this scenario, I'm using my integrated camera, but if I have like multiple cameras being linked to my device, I get the option to sort of select which one I will use to sort of go through this face verification process, right? So I'll just go ahead and click verify over here. So by the way, before that, I've already got my profile photo being set up in the system. So I click verify. So it says facial verification failed for one time. So what happens over here is that the system is going to take your live photo and kind of compare with your profile photo, and you have 5 times to sort of go through that. So sometimes you might not work because of resolution of the camera, because of the light setup within your room, because some of the of your background is not really clear. So what I'll do is I'll move my face a bit closer and do this again. All right, here we go. Now I have passed the facial verification process, and after clicking the OK, is going to get me into the examination. I'll hit start now. Okay, all right, guys. So finally, I'm in the examination right now. So you might have noticed I'll be getting to the exam paper straight away, starting from question 1. So what you're saying, but before we get into the detailed questions and answering those questions, what I want to show you is that if you notice on top of the screen, there are a bunch of components over there. So first of all is about the exam information, things related to the course, about the exam that you are taking, things about, the classification and all that as well, including your user ID. And of course, right beside that, since we need to do this and sort of show you guys online today, that's why we whitelisted Teams as the allowed application, so that we get to share the screen and you guys get to see this in live. So any whitelisted applications that students are allowed to use during the examination, they're going to be shown under the application tab over here. So including Teams, some other applications you allow students to use, for example, calculators that you allow them to use during mathematics related exams. And the other part, this kind of whitelisting and setup of resources, it also applies to websites over here, right? So as part of this exam, I am, granted this access to the Maven Point website. So what I can do is I can simply just click on that, which will bring me to that specific website straight away. So this might be useful in a scenario whereby you want the students to reference to some websites, resources available on the internet, to use as a reference to do, question answering experience later on during the exam, right? So similar experience over here. Sorry, my network is a bit slow today, but I think you get the idea over here, whereby you will get access to the website over here in a separate window rather than just launching the browser, right? So below, right beside that, there's also a red icon indicating whether the session is recorded. So by default, what we're going to do is that we're going to get both the audio and the video recorded during the exam. As a student, from a student point of view, if you still want to see your face during the assessment, what you can do is just easily click on that, which will flash out your live video, streaming during the exam. All right, so I'll just exit that. So right beside that, there's also an indicator on the network connectivity as well over here, indicating whether you're connected to the system. And of course, on the top right corner, there's a clock indicating how much time you have for this exam. So apart from all these options available on top of the screen, when you are you're either navigating different applications, different links, seeing whether the session is recorded and how much time left for the examination, you could also utilize the left side navigation panel to easily just navigate into different questions, or if you're looking at exams consisting of different sections, you can easily just navigate around as well. I'll just quickly show you guys what it looks like. Just click on the arrow over here, and then you will have like different options showing you different questions over here. So for example, I do not want to start with question 1 or question 2. I want to directly jump into the last question of this paper. So what I can do is I can just click number 5, which will bring me to this cute, cat photo over here. Right, so let's restart with question 1. So this covers the left side navigation panel. And before we get into the actual question answering experience, you might have noticed, I've actually explained this to you guys before the exam gets started, whereby you have a chat box together with your proctor. You can see broadcasts from your proctor. You can see messages that you send around, and you guys are, communicating over this chat box. So the same thing applies to the whole exam taking experience over here as well, even after you started the examination, right? So if you have a question, so I just say, hey, teacher, I have a question for question 1. Right, so I'll just leave a message to my proctor, and I can wait for the response from my proctor. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly exit this and get into all those questions, right? So the first question is more like a filling blank question over here. It says cats have, how many paws, how many years? I'll just quickly do that, right? So I'll move on to the next question over here. You can either use the left side navigation panel over here, or you could just use next question option over here, right? Cats like to get into trouble and all that. So I'll just quickly answer all the questions. right? So this is a very interesting question type that we put together. So what you can do is there's an image being indicated over here, which allows you to make annotation on the image straight away, right? For example, I'm choosing this one and this one, right? So I can make annotation on the image straight away and submit that as my answer. So I just quickly move on to the very last question, right? So which is the ASA type of question over here. So over here, you might have noticed there's a rich text editor that we put together. You could either format whatever text that you put inside, or you could also use things like, mathematical symbols to sort of format formulas over here. You could insert a table, just like you're adding documents within a Word document, or like, on any Office applications over there. So I'll just put in a very quick answer over here, right? So before I submit, what I want to show you next is also there will be detections going on suspicious activities, right? So what the proctor is going to say is, they're not going to, being opening up and launch the live video with every single students during the exam, but rather the system takes care of that. It detects violation of rules. It detects suspicious activities. So such detection includes things like about identity. For example, if I switch to another person during the exam, or even if I left my seat for a couple of seconds, it's going to be captured by the system as violation of rules.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you for taking us through the student's point of view. Now let me show you how does the proctor takes part in the examination process. So as a proctor or teacher, you can access the exam two ways. One is from the homepage. You can see this is an exam that's taken, or you can go to the exam session and pick and choose the examination that's already taken. Click the attendance part, attendance. And then you can see that we have actually enrolled 3 candidates, but only 2 persons have taken the examination. 1 has failed, 1 has passed. And now who failed, who passed? You can see it here. So Matt failed his facial verification, but Ethan passed. So we can have any clear idea of what has going on. As you can see, I have 3 messages here. I'm gonna go there later to have a look. What I'm gonna show you next is a live proctoring feature. This is quite fun. So what does live proctoring do is basically it frees teachers from always looking at the screen, always staring at the screen to look at students. AI is in the back to detect any suspicious activities. As you can see, Ethan and Matt are taking the examination now. And what I'm going to do is, as you can see here, there's a human voice detected. That's my voice. So the system detects if anyone is speaking during the examination and sends alert here to proctors, so proctors can see later. All right, I'm going to ask Matt and Ethan to leave the seat. All right. It says no person detected, no person detected. All right, please return to your seat. Can one of you use your phone and the other one of you look to your left? Matt, can you hold your... That's Matt's screen says suspicious devices. Thank you, Matt. And Ethan's screen says not facing the screen. All right. And can you two like switch your seats? Ethan, can you sit on Matt's seat? Oh, it says on Ethan's screen, not matching person, and says on Matt's screen, no person detected. Thank you, guys. Thank you, my actors. And then here, what the system is very clever is here you can see the number of suspicious actions the student has taken. So if you refresh the video, the person who has the most, refresh the video, the person who has the most you can see here, this is the number of suspicious actions, and you can actually make it bigger to see two screens. One is Ethan's face. Oops, my voice just came out echo. One is Ethan's face, and you can click here to see what Ethan is looking at. For Matt, you can click here to see what Matt is looking at. So you can have a clear idea of what the student is doing. I'm going to leave the live proctoring now. Click here for the questions. Matt says, I need a calculator. Can you give me some help, please? Coming. And then for Ethan, I have a question. Say, tell me. So this is where you can send messages privately to students. And also you can do a broadcast. You can say 10 minutes left. This is where you can do a group message to all the students. And that's today's demonstration. That's the during exam demonstration. So next, I'm going to use the next 5 minutes or so to show you the benefit that we can bring to teachers, to proctors, to administrative people in terms of how can help you to better manage the post-examination management from the point of view of doing post-exam investigation, looking at the proctoring video and doing all kinds of different marking, auto marking, online marking and offline marking, and how to take anonymous examination and stuff like that. So I'm gonna quickly go to the examination now. As you can see here, you have access to a whole bunch of different statistics about the exam, what happened then, who were the attendants, what is the submission status, and all that. If you want to dive deeper, you can go to the suspicious activity right here. Even after the examination is done, you still have access to these recordings. In any case, you want to do any post-exam investigation. For example, you realize, oh, two of my students have the exact same answers. They look suspicious. I want to find out what happened. So you can check it here with audio and video together with timestamps. You can see the timestamps as well. And also you can browse through the red bar here to see what happened in this time. Moving on to the marking. We provided different views for you. You can either choose question view or candidate view, depending on your business process, how you're running your examinations. Are you distributing this script by the question or by the candidate? It's entirely up to you. We give you the flexibility to do that. We also give you the flexibility if you have educators who don't want to come to the system to do the marking. They can export the responses out and work it offline. If they prefer to use like Excel sheet or Word document, they can do that. And after they mark it offline, they can import the result to the system again.
We can also do an anonymous marking where we mask out student ID, so the proctors they won't be able to know who the students are. Let's go to any question. So this is the marking experience. This is as you can see here, it's quite simple and straightforward. At any time you want to change the score, you're able to do that just by clicking the pencil here. And if you want to give this like different scores, what the system is very smart is that it keeps the history, it keeps the record. We have audit trails for all the comments for data integrity so that we are not losing any data in the system. For example, someone just came in and made some changes. No, we will see that in the history section. Last but not least is our grading progress. Here is where we do grade to mark mapping. Once again, flexibility. You can, the final grade that you want to publish to the students is totally configurable. You can do a grade mapping here. You can choose any template or configure your own template as well. If you want to show like fail or pass or ABCD, or you have your own mapping, that is totally up to you. Here you can see a distribution of your students' performance in this examination. You can see the number of students in this score range, and then you can also have the visibility to see who is the highest score, the lowest score, and the average score, without the need to manually calculate everything or use Excel sheet to do the calculation. So that's it. The system actually is very easy to use and aimed to help teachers, proctors, and admin people to save their time to do admin work, and gives you the flexibility and provides the visibility as well. If you have any questions about the use cases or features, feel free to post them in the Q&A part. We're happy to take any questions you may have. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for watching this demonstration with us. Now we're happy to take any questions you may have. I saw a lot of questions posted. Thank you guys for the questions. Before we come to that, can I please ask you to scan the QR code and give us your feedback, or you can check out our LinkedIn page for more information. Now we will come to your questions.
All right, thank you guys again for attending today's webinar. So while you guys are doing giving us your feedback and following us on the LinkedIn page, hopefully you guys are doing that right now. So what I'll do is I'll start answering some of the questions that you guys left in the chat. So for everyone's information here, so what we're going to do is I'm going to read out some of the questions without mentioning the name for sure. So so that all of you guys get a sense on what the question was and how Examena could actually support what you guys asked. All right, so there were a bunch of questions around the content creation part for Examena. So there were questions around, do we support video-based questions? Can you put in like interactive diagrams? Is there any way that, we could upload questions through a document, or we have to do one by one? So basically what we do within Examena is that we support different ways of question creation experience. You could either, upload a document, be it PDF, Word documents, Excel files, whatever format that you guys are using today to sort of, keep all the questions that you have. We'll be able to easily get you guys on board by importing all those questions straight away into Examena before you even get started, using or taking examinations in the system. So we do support different types of questions as well, including things like, you can not only just include a bunch of tags within your question, but also media files such as audio, videos, pictures, diagrams, tables, and all that. So depending on how do you put together the content of your question, we could actually support quite a number of, of file types in that case. You could even do things like, combining those stuff together, whereby, for example, we have photos as part of the question, and you want to include an attachment to that question as well. So you remember back, those days whereby everyone will be given like a formula sheet during like mathematic examinations. So you could actually attach that file as attachment so that everyone could use that as a reference during the examination, right? So that covers the question creation for Examena. And there were some questions around whether we are able to randomize the questions. It's a definite yes. And you have two options inside, whereby you could either randomize all the various options within the question, or you could also do things like randomize the sequence of the questions that are shown to the students within the exam paper as well, right? So you have different options within there as well. All right, I'm just looking at some of the other questions. All right, so there were some questions around proctoring. There was a question around, for example, where will facial recognition compare the data with. So just for everyone's information over here within this webinar, so what you need to do is there's a certain onboarding that we need to do for Examena. I think there was a question around creating accounts as well. We understand, oftentimes when you get on board to a new technology, like the onboarding process is pretty painful sometimes. So we wanted to make this experience as easy as possible. So we do integration with, with Microsoft, with Google. So if you guys are on that, you could just use the same ID to log into our system. And we do support creating accounts and, assigning roles in batch as well. So if you have like a list of names together with their email, some of the other personal data over there, we can, get it loaded into the system as well, right? So that's for onboarding. Talking about, once again, the facial recognition and comparing data of all those, attendees of the examination. What we do is for every single exam taker, what they need to do is they need to set up their profile photo within the system. It can either be done in batch, whereby, as administrators or as educators, you can upload all those photos in batch at the back end, or it could be self-service, being done by those exam takers as well, right? So once we got the photo, what we can do is really just to, compare the live photo or the live video streaming together with the profile photo to see whether this person entering the examination is the right person to do that. All right. So there was also a question about AI proctoring only works for closed book. It's an option in the system, like what Sandy mentioned early on in the demo. It's really up to you guys. How do you design your exam process? How do you design all the prerequisites you want to set up for your exams? If you want to do or enable sort of proctoring for open book examinations as well, or like open book sort of like a formative assessments, you can do that as well. It's really up to you guys. All right, so there was some question around, I think, around data that we're storing. So first of all the data that we sort of collecting the system, they're all encrypted and they are all stored locally within the data center, within the local data center, depending on which region that you guys are in. So for example, if you guys are mainly operating in Singapore, of course, we're going to get all the data stored in the Singapore data center. And, if you guys are, operating in other regions, what we do is we'll find a local data center on top of the Microsoft Cloud, and then we'll get the data stored over there in an encrypted format. All right, so there's another question. What is the acceptance rate of hybrid exams by educational institutions? This is a very interesting question in a way that, I think everyone, we suffered quite a lot in the past few years during the pandemic, where, most of the time we can't really get the whole group of students back in campus. But I think, a lot of people, there was also like arguments around, pure remote examinations versus hybrid examinations versus traditional pen and paper based or like on-campus examinations. So I think really, I mean, technology plays a great part in that, whereby it helps you to digitalize the whole process and even automate some of your process over there as well. And we do see the benefits and the beauty of running hybrid examinations. And we've been helping quite a few educational institutions in Singapore and in the APAC region as well on running their examinations in a hybrid, either hybrid or a pure remote manner. So I think I think this way of running examinations digitally, either be it on campus, hybrid, or pure remote, has been well adopted by a lot of educational institutions. But I think, like here today, we still don't really have a conclusion. Like in the future, should we go with pure remote, or should we go with hybrid, or should we just stick to the traditional way of running examinations, right? So I'm not sure whether you guys read the news. Like there were a lot of arguments going on out there on the wire, saying whether remote examination is secure, and is never going to be as secure as doing like face-to-face examinations. And how do we deal with, like, rather than running traditional and also predominant examinations, how do we rethink about how do we assess students in that sense, right? Do we still heavily leverage on predominant examinations, or should we actually combine that with a lot of other assessments or formative tasks in that sense? So there were like a lot of stuff's going on around the globe. So if you guys are interested to find out more, I think I do recommend you guys to reach out to us after this session. So the conversation doesn't have to be stopped here. So what we do is we're gonna help you with that transformation journey and help you guys reimagine the whole examination and assessment process that you guys are running within your organization. Right. So with that, we understand that we can't really answer all the questions due to the time limit today. So we're gonna, get back to you guys on your questions after the session as well. And meanwhile, once again, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar.